Hello, my name is Evernique Watkins, and I do apologize for being like the last person to submit their film analysis. I've had difficulties recording. I've actually recorded a 30-minute video yesterday, and YouTube says that I can only record 15. So we're going to try to condense this presentation down today. I chose Hidden Figures as the video to review. I'm going to move right along so we don't run out of time. Ooh. Just a brief synopsis of this movie. It's about three brilliant minded black women who assisted NASA with launching their first human being into space. I'm sorry, hold on one second. Okay, the three main characters are Catherine Goebel, who is going to be working in a section who's never worked with black women. She's going to experience discrimination in the workplace, different hardships. However, she's going to be the brains who determine the astronaut going into space. We'll see that as we go along. We also have Miss Dorothy Vaughns, who's acting in as a supervisor, but they refuse to give her the role as a supervisor and the pay. We'll see her conflicts later as well. And also we have Miss Mary Jackson. Mary Jackson is a very smart, educated woman who wants to be an engineer. However, she feels as though she cannot be an engineer due to the fact that um, you have to have taken some courses that are only available at a white high school, all white high school, and colors are not allowed until the judge rules that she can attend those classes. Moving right along. The six concepts that I chose to do my analysis over. The first one will be stereotyping. The second one is conflict management avoidance. The third one will be, nonverbal communication. We then have hostile work environment and listening. Let's get into the first concept. Our first concept is stereotyping. Stereotyping is to stereotype someone is to attribute a set of qualities to a person because of his or her membership in some category. This could be a gender roles, like my picture, or it can be racial discrimination. It could be any type of discrimination. I have two examples of stereotyping in this movie. However, there were plenty of different scenes that there were stereotype. Sorry, there were several scenes of stereotyping in this movie. The first one we're going to talk about is early on in the movie. The three main characters were stuck on the side of the road. Their car broke down. They were on their way to work. A police officer arrives on the scene, and he was very negative, somewhat in how he talked to them. I would have taken it as hostile, not to a certain extent. Anyways, but he was shocked after finding out that they were employed by NASA, and his whole mindset changed. He actually mentioned, I never knew NASA to hire, and he kind of stopped, and Miss Dorothy Vaughns filled him in. Oh, NASA hires a lot of women, but he wasn't talking about women. He was actually talking about colors. This other scene, this is one of my favorite scenes. You'll see that the military gentleman, he is stereotyping women. Let's see. Sorry. Trying to cut down this presentation time. There we go.
Pastor mentioned you're a computer at NASA. Pretty heady stuff.
Yes, it is.
They let women handle that sort of... That's not what I mean.
What do you mean?
I'm just surprised it's something so taxing.
Mr. Johnson, if I were you, I'd quit.
Go in the room.
I mean no disrespect.
Sorry.
I will have you know, I was the first Negro female student at West Virginia University Graduate School. On any given day, I analyze the manometer levels for air displacement, friction hand velocity and compute over 10,000 calculations by hand. So yes, they let women do some things at NASA, Mr. Johnson. And it's not because we wear skirts. It's because we wear glasses.
That scene also
Every
fits the role of self-disclosure, and it also, in my opinion, self-concept and self-esteem. She know her worth, and she was going to make sure that he knows as well. Okay, moving along. Oh, we're having some issues. Okay, so as it relates to relationships, stereotyping will affect the way that you perceive someone. Yes, the way you treat people will most likely change if you are grown up, if you were raised around different stereotypes or things of that nature. Gonna move right along because time is rolling. The second concept style is conflict management avoidance. And this management style involves backing off and trying to sidestep conflict. The avoidance style might indicate that a person has low concern for others as well as for themselves. That's from the textbook. Okay, so the scene that I chose for this example is the scene where Miss Mitchell, who is she is like an assistant to the supervisors, assistant to the supervisors on the white side. Miss Dorothy Vaughn wishes to be a supervisor. So in this scene, she goes up to Miss Mitchell and asks her about an application that she put in. Miss Mitchell explains to her that they're not looking to fill a role as a supervisor for the colors. She asked why. Miss Mitchell said, "I don't ask why. I don't know." Basically, Miss Dorothy goes to explain that they really need a supervisor. She's doing all the work. She wants to reflect that in the pay and also in her status. Get out. Miss Mitchell then goes to say, well, this is NASA. Fast at, setting up rocket ships, slow at advancements. And then she rushed her to get some other calcs in so that they can do it so that they can have for the Redstone test. So she basically pushed her issues to the side and her concerns and wanted her to hurry up and get their stuff that they needed done at that moment. In a scene, avoidance was applied effectively. However, Dorothy's concerns weren't addressed as she'd wished. As a supervisor, avoidance in the workplace is not ideal because you make your employees feel less like you don't care about them. Our third one we have is nonverbal communication. Behavior other than written or spoken language that creates meaning for someone. And that is straight from the textbook as well. Let's see, which scene did I choose? Okay, so Catherine Goebel is the new computer for this section who's never had an African American woman in their office. As soon as she enters the office, a man walks up with a full trash can and he's like, "Hey, somebody ain't dumped the trash last night. Put it on top of her box that she's carrying." Catherine persists. She's trying to tell him she's not the custodian. He wasn't trying to hear it. He turns off, walks away. She puts the trash can down and proceeds to go ask where does she sit. All eyes are on her. Another incident, and all eyes are on her not out of admiration or anything. It's more of a confusion that is more so uncomfortable towards her. This incident will also it sets the tone for further incidents that she had, and we're going to go to it. And we're going to talk about another incident that she had at the workplace when we get to hostile work environment. Nonverbal communication is very important because it doesn't matter if your message is positive. It will be perceived as negative if we're folding our arms, if we're slouching, our stance, our tone of voice, our eye contacts and gestures all play a part in our message that we're trying to send to the receiver. Number 4, hostile work environment. Like I said, this scene that I chose here will go hand in hand with the other one I just chose, that I just explained. Hostile work environment. It is a hostile work environment. It is a hostile work environment when he or she feels their rights are being violated because of working conditions or offensive behavior on the part of other workers. So moving along to the scene that we're talking about. Again, Miss Catherine is new to this office. They're not used to having an African American woman in this office. However, on this particular scene, Catherine is going to the coffee pot. She pours herself a cup of coffee. She turns around, about to head back to her seat, just to find everyone in the room staring at her in disbelief, disgust. They don't know how to take it. Without saying anything, she feels all the vibes, so she just goes to sit back in her seat. This creates a hostile work environment because it changed. She never felt like she belonged there, which is understandable. They've never had that. However, nobody knew how she felt. There was no restrooms nearby. She had to run back and forth a half a mile just to relieve herself. Just different things. It was an ideal place of work. There are different things that constitute a hostile work environment. Most people tend to think sexual harassment is the main one. That is it can create a hostile work environment. However, discrimination against age, gender, religion, sexual preference, and disability also constitute a hostile work environment. When a victim no longer want to be at work, that means that the work environment has become hostile. Or if the employer is aware of the environment, but he's not doing anything to change it or to intervene, he's adding to the hostile work environment. Self-concept. The concept number 5, self-esteem and self-concept. A person's subjective description of who he or she is the book's definition. Moving right along. In this scene, Mary Jackson is encouraged by her supervisor to pursue classes at an all-white high school to become an engineer. She basically pushes his motivation for her to the side because she feels as though it's not possible. So the conversation went, like I said, he was encouraging her to pursue her dreams and not to be a computer for the rest of her life. She explains to him, Mr. Z, I'm a Negro woman. I'm not going to entertain the impossible. Mr. Z then says, I am a Polish Jew whose parents died in Nazi prison camp. Now, I am standing beneath a spaceship that is going to carry an astronaut to the stars. I think we can say that we are living the impossible. It's a very strong sense of self-esteem, self-concept. Again, self-esteem is how we respect ourselves. The self-concept is what a person think about themselves. This is more of an emotional side and is based on the attitude towards ourselves. I'm so sorry, my children are get out. No. I'm sorry. Number 6, listening. This process is selecting, attending to, creating meaning from, remembering, and responding to verbal and nonverbal messages. Pushing for time. I'm gonna go ahead and explain this scene. In this scene, Mr. Harrison has been looking for Catherine Goebel on several occasions, and she's nowhere to be found. At this scene, he's actually confronting her when she's coming back in the room because she's soaking wet. He's trying to figure out where the hell has she been. In all actuality, she was explaining, the hostile work environment, how she has to run half a mile just to relieve herself, and just different things like that, and how it's just uncomfortable for her because there's no restroom nearby for her. So he listens to her complain about that situation, which is understandable.